Welcome to Prime Space, a Prime Coaching Academy podcast with your host, Elias and Amy. Coaches, I have Amy with me today. Hello, Amy.
Hello, Elias. I'm back.
Yes, fun. Always fun to have you here with us. Amy, you wrote a fabulous article this week called "The World Is Reassessing. What's your role going to be?" And I thought it would be important for us to talk about this. What do you mean that the world is reassessing?
Listen, I think if that didn't resonate with you, you might possibly be living in a cave somewhere. I don't know. but let me explain what I meant by that. I think that we have just been living through years and years of disruption. I mean, I can go all the way back to the Industrial Revolution. However, let's look at really, I kind of look at it since 9/11. Really, it happened here in the United States. However, it rocked the world. And I remember thinking at the time, and I think many of us thought this, boy, who do we want to be now that this has happened? And before we could even answer that, 2007 came along, where with the acceleration of technology, with social media and the internet and being able to carry high-powered computers in our pockets with our phones. And that just started accelerating technology to a point that human beings really can't keep up with it because it just self-accelerates itself. And then we come, screeching into the past 5 years, which have just been full of disruption, confusion, and more importantly, I mean, I don't want to sound like doom and gloom because there really is a positive message behind all this, but I believe that most of our systems are starting to crumble around us. And it leaves all of us wondering, okay, who am I in all this? And what's going to happen to me? And what do I need to put in place and do in order to live in this world where disruption is now becoming the norm? That's what I mean.
That is fantastic. I so appreciate that. And I invite everyone to read the full article. It's in our Prime Edge blog at primecoachingacademy.com. I was actually yesterday, as I was driving, I was listening to a podcast by Brian Gorman, Conversations, and he was talking about, he just wrote a book on AI and the impact of AI. And he was talking about the distinction between intelligence and wisdom. And I was thinking exactly about this. Like, yes, we are so afraid about AI and all of this reassessing that we are having to do because of this new technology. It is forcing us to think about, who are we? Who do we want to be? What is the distinction, the uniqueness of humanity? And can we live in that uniqueness of humanity that no machine will ever be able to accomplish or to substitute? What do you think that contributed to this shift?
What's contributed to this, again, I'm repeating myself a little bit here, but what contributed to it really is the past 25 years. I think that has just been building up to this. We have to look at all of the things that have occurred that leave us asking, what really matters now? Because we've seen social norms and norms in general just kind of disintegrating. And norms are things that make people feel part of and safe within a society. And if you ask me now, what are our societal norms? I don't know how I would answer you. I just feel they're all up for grabs. So I think that is what's kind of led us here, is the breakdown of social norms, the constant disruptions, and technology, and wonderful things happening too, the acceleration of technology. And also going to go out on a limb here and say, I believe that our consciousness as human beings is rising as well, because we are all asking ourselves, what really matters now? What's important through all this?
I remember when 9/11 came, I was thinking of we are in a moment in history right now that for the first time in humanity, we know everything that is happening with everybody around the
Yes.
world immediately. So all of a sudden, my perspective, my little cocoon that I had that thought that this was the way life is supposed to operate has been challenged by other people's way of thinking. And their way of thinking has been challenged my way of thinking as well. So we are colliding with all of these little perspectives that we have as human beings. And we are having to figure out how are we going to understand what is beyond our little cocoon.
Yeah.
And this is a major shift. We are exposed to all of the values and all of the perspectives from everybody in the world at the same time.
Yes.
Our original ways of looking at life are being challenged because we are being stretched to think beyond.
Yeah. It's interesting, Elias, what you just said, because you consider this too. Like, we know what everybody's thinking in the world. We just have to pull this thing out of our pocket. And we not only can see what they're thinking, but we have access to them too. I think of one of the big changes, the big shifts where it really got the world's attention was the Arab Spring, where we saw an entire government be thrown over because of this thing people carry in their pockets and how they can connect with one another and connect ideas with one another. I think that's when we really started to recognize the power we have as individuals and collectively together when we come together. And so in what looks and feels difficult, disruptive, upheaval, in there, in there are really powerful messages and guidance for us as human beings of how we can be better. We can do better if we connect and we look out for the greatest good of all of us.
Yeah. And there is a choice because
Yeah.
when we are stretched, when we are forced to go outside of our comfort zone, is scary. We start being fearful. Oh my gosh, what's going to happen? The world is going to end. Well, the world as it is may end, may have to change because we are going to have to find a different way of seeing the world. It's not that it's going to end, literally, but our construct of this world may need to be reconceived, reassessed, as you said in the article here. And that's a good thing. It's an evolution and it's scary because it's
Yeah.
different and it's new and we don't know what is the other part. The places where we ground ourselves may be shaken a little bit, but we are going to build something else. And here is the point.
Yeah.
Because we are in a coaching podcast. We have coaching training. So, what is the role there of this whole societal shift that is happening? What is the role of coaching?
Yeah, well, you just said something really interesting about we're all going into this time of not knowing. We don't know what's around the next bend. We've never seen anything like this. We don't have our norms to lean against as we go through some turmoil. And what do coaches do well when they are well developed, well trained, is they can be in that space of not knowing. And I look at this time right now, Ilias, and I say coaching is one of the few professions built for this moment. I don't think it's any mistake that coaching came around 30 years ago and that we are here now with it. Because at this point, right now, what we need is clarity. We need to be able to see what's real, not what's assumed. And then we need consciousness. We need to be able to expand our awareness and our understanding of ourselves within that. And we need change. We need the courage for change. And that means turning our awareness into aligned with our values, sustainable action. What coaching brings is an intersection of all three of those things with individuals, with teams, with organizations. And it all comes and stems from the coaching mindset.
This is very inspiring to me because it really is a call for us to go beyond, to go a step further, as we like to say at Prime Coaching Academy. To me, is an invitation for us to go beyond the simple conversation, go beyond the simple building a business and the practicality of the day to day, which are crucial, right? We need our day to day and we need the basics of our lives for us to move on. However, there is an invitation here and there is an opportunity, there is a need for us individuals, and especially for me as professionally trained coaches, to be aware and conscious of the power of this tool that we have in front of us, this mindset that we have in front of us, and how we can influence the world and be a part of this shift. So, what is the last question that you have for our listeners here?
With all of this reassessment going on, with all of this rise in consciousness, with all of this change going on, with all of this disruption going on, what's your role going to be in this? What role do you want to play to impact how our future goes? That's my big question.
Yes, and I even paused there with a little silence because it's a powerful one for us to reflect on. We have a tool, we have a mindset, we have some concepts that have emerged in the professional coaching arena that have been developed by the community in the last 30 years. What do we want to do with it? And how do we want to stretch this tool further to support our clients, our individual clients, the one-on-ones? Because I think that, a mountain is created pebble by pebble.
You bet.
And how in that 1 hour conversation, that half an hour conversation that we have with an individual, we are contributing to the evolution, not only of that individual, but to the evolution of us as humanity and as culture and as people.
Yeah. And I will challenge coaches to think of their work much more beyond maybe where they are today. Today, you may be thinking, oh, how do I fill my practice? How do I make money? How do I quit my day job? How do I build, this, that, the other, whatever. Stop thinking small. Start thinking big. There's a big, big game for us to play out there. And if we're playing small, getting wrapped up and worried in our own stuff, we can't make that impact. And to your point, Elias, we do make a difference every time we work with one client, one-on-one. There's a ripple effect from what we do. So I want to challenge everybody listening to this to think bigger, think broader, get beyond yourself, get out of your comfort zones, because that's where the magic is.
Yeah, start thinking bigger about coaching, about what coaching is, about the power of coaching. It's much more than just a simple conversation, but there is a lot of power behind this mindset if we are truly grounded in the mindset of coaching. Well, Amy, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for writing this article. I'm looking forward to more articles in the future and more things that we can create together. It's always a joy to partner with you. Listeners, thank you so much for listening. Remember, we are with open registrations for our level 1 and level 2 cohort that is going to start at the beginning of the year. And right now we are just in the short period of the very generous early bird of 25% off. So it's time for you to jump in if you have been thinking about this and take the first step and register and participate in our cohorts. Otherwise, I will talk with you next time. Take good care.